You ready for this?
Gonna be fun.
You will not stand in my way.
Frostborn. Hunger. This pleases me.
I do not fear you, mortal.
Your soul shall be mine.
Don't make me laugh.
Needs a brew? Oh, I do. Feel a shredding, baby. Let the battle begin.
So, hello and welcome to the third episode of Trollin HGC. Here's a Storm podcast focused on esports, member of the Trolls GG podcast network. I'm your host, LiQuid, and joined today, as normal, by my co-host, Bahgz. How's it going, man?
Hey, LiQuid, what's up, buddy? Exciting stuff this past weekend, huh?
It has been. We're going to jump right in, but before we do that, I want to thank everybody over at our Patreon, patreon.com/TrollsGG. The show will always be free. We're going to continue to put out great, high-quality HGC and other esports content around Heroes of the Storm. But if you want to find a way to support us and or the Nexus Trolls, head on over to patreon.com/TrollsGG. All right, my man. The end of roster apocalypse is upon us, and I'm just going to flip over here, and we're just going to go through some of the changes that we saw. So Blizzard helpfully put this like sweet little page together showing everything that has happened in each region for roster apocalypse. Let me just scroll a little so I can get all of EU. So you can see, if you're watching video, you can see right now Team Expert let Blade go, which we knew was going to happen. He's been talking about it himself for like 3 or 4 weeks, and picked up a Thero. We can see that Tricked Esport dropped Eternal and picked up Maki. I'm not sure how you say that.
I'm going with Maki until further notice.
Cool. All right, Maki. And you can see that Playing Ducks actually dropped Crisplosion and picked up Eternal. So Eternal off and on a team. Synergy got completely replaced by, I guess now we're going Team Good Guys instead of Team Gang Gang. B Genius got defeated and replaced by Zealots from Open Division. And Dignitas, LiQuiD, and Fnatic made no changes because they are the top 3. Why would they change anything? Yeah, so okay, that's EU. Not a whole lot, right? I mean, changing out 1 or 2 pieces here or there, that's not too bad, right?
No, so hardly any moves over there. I was actually, for the longest time, I was waiting for the Ducks to make a move because they hadn't, and the clock was ticking on that. And I was like, didn't these guys like we're on the cusp of going to the Crucible? Why haven't they made a move? They got to do something to kind of put a buffer between them, hopefully,
right,
from that position they were in. And apparently having 2 Chris's on the team was one too many. So so they picked up Eternal. And yeah, Maki, I guess, according to Schwimpy, he played Heroes in Newerth with him, and Maki's going to be the new flex for Tricked. So we'll see what happens. Results will bear out whether these were good or bad moves.
Right. All right. And now we're going to jump over to North America. Now, okay, I can't quite get everything in, so we're just going to leave it there. Well, actually, no, that's everything. But
there you go.
That's everything but Tempo Storm made no changes, okay? So, we have Roll20, which used to be Team 8, but has now rebranded themselves Roll20, is dropping Yoda and picking up Goku post MidSeason Brawl. They can't make any changes during MidSeason Brawl, but the actual roster lock happened on June 10th in the middle of MidSeason Brawl, so they had to announce what they were going to do, right? So they drop Yoda, they pick up Goku. All right, I kind of get that. I think Prismaticism, keeping Yoda and dropping Prismaticism may have been the right choice there, but that's cool. I wanted to see Team 8, now Roll20, make some kind of change. So, go ahead.
So, well, I almost kind of agree because Yoda's been strong,
right.
And this is like the exact scenario we were talking about where it would be like, why, what, like, so you would, Yoda's played well and he hasn't like said that he's upset, but this is like the exact scenario where you're like, I'm off the team and like you feel like you have nothing to play for at this point. Goku is a melee flex player, and a great one, and Roll20 like kind of is lacking in that, I guess, in that department. Like, so like Prismat, like he plays a great Genji, but you can see when he's on like Gray main, it's not there, I guess.
Right.
But who's gonna play Li Ming? Like Yoda's like an amazing Li Ming.
Well, and that's my problem. So, all right. So first of all, Pleb King asked in the channel, why the roster change? I think Roll20. Okay, so if you go all the way back, like the way Roll20 was formed was 5 guys getting together, and I mentioned this a little bit on the Nexus Trolls. 5 guys just getting together and saying, you know, it'd be fun. Let's just see if we can qualify for HGC. And then they qualified for HGC, and they were like, oh shit, we qualified. And Chew8's like, you know what, guys? To be fair to Chew8, like I probably would have made the same decision if I was in his place. But he said, I don't have time to do like what it would take to be a true HGC team. I don't have time for the practice. I don't have time for the scrims. I make my money streaming. I need to keep that income flowing. I'm going to stay streaming. I'm not going to play an HGC for you. And last minute they picked up Prismaticism. I have always felt like something there didn't quite mesh. I know him and Justin have been around together for a while, so I get that. But I've always felt like overall, like that's where, not that that's where the gap was, because look, clearly they're doing fine. They made it into the top 8 at MidSeason Brawl, right? It's not like they're a bad team. I'm not trying to say they're a bad team. I'm just like, this was a place.
They are trying to take it to the next level for what it's worth.
Right. And I feel like they had to make at least one swap to do that. I felt like something was off about the team. I was surprised it was Yoda instead of Prismaticism. I think Yoda has come into his own and is actually a solid player. And I think Yoda fits better with Goku and Glaurung than Prismaticism does there. Now, that's in a vacuum, right? We're not taking into account anything that might be going on with the team, like personality-wise or anything else. Just in the vacuum of what we can observe, I think a better move would have been to replace Prismaticism with Goku. Having said that, Roll20 needed to make a change to take it to that next level, right? They're constantly knocking on the door of top 3. In fact, top 3 NA, but they did that because they beat GFE to get the number 2 seed to go into MidSeason Brawl, right? But I feel like in order for them to hit that like consistency, they needed to make a change. So that's why I'm happy to see Roll20 making a change.
And for what it's worth, they didn't, not Yoda and Prismat kind of seem to be splitting the role of the melee flex.
Right.
Right? So like sometimes you'll see Yoda on like on say Dahako or playing Leoric, which we saw.
Right.
And that's going to be Goku's role now. And that's what he did. And that's what he does. And that's what he did very well for Superstars.
Well, and that's why I think him replacing Prismat was a better decision than him replacing Yoda.
So
right?
So he's an upgrade for the team, but is it the most efficient one? That's I guess what we're asking, right?
Yes.
So
and that's where I'm stuck. And guys, I apologize because we'll probably talk a lot of NA tonight, only because like this is a first section that we're going to talk about, but because we're going over roster changes and NA made some of the most head-scratching changes that we're going to talk most about NA, right? Not that we're like we cover all the divisions I like to think we cover all the divisions relatively evenly, but in this case, NA made a lot of changes, and we're going to talk about them. So, but let's go into No Tomorrow. Okay, so No Tomorrow dropped Airho and picked up Equinox. I kind of expected this. Again, I was surprised it was Airho. I expected No Tomorrow to make a change. I didn't have any. I didn't look at No Tomorrow and go, you know what? That's the problem with No Tomorrow. But I expected No Tomorrow to make 1 to 2 changes, and they did. And I think this was a good change, especially since Equinox was now available because he left GFE, right? And maybe that's part of the problem is the player pool in NA just isn't as large as we need it to be.
It's not very deep. So that's why we see a lot of the just kind of like the roster churning, which is just like we're just swapping spare parts, and we're not getting new ones off Amazon.
But you know, the killer to me, here's the killer to me, right? The killer to me is Korea did the same thing, and we're going to get to that when we get down there, but they did it in one fail swoop. They were like, whoop, here's all our changes, boom, done. None of this like tweets over like a week-long period. It was just like, guess what? Here's our changes.
Yeah. And they've got some new blood going in there. At least I'm not familiar with their amateur scene, but there's definitely some players that were not in the HGC this past season. So
for sure. All right,
but we'll get there.
So GFE. I don't think we're gonna spend a lot of time on this because we kind of beat it up last week. But Crone and Equinox are off the team. King Caffeine and K1 Pro are on the team. I still am wearing my tinfoil hat and saying this was specifically because K1 Pro was coming with King Caffeine, and that's why Crone was gone. Like, I can't come up with any other reason that you let Crone off that team. I just can't. I'm sorry. I love GFE. I have no reason for you to take Crone off that team at all.
It should have been Calf by himself, right?
Yes, 100%.
Agreed.
Calf for Equinox, I can get behind. Or
I think the majority of the community's in that corner too, by the way.
right. Or Equinox for a warrior player to be determined, I can get behind. And that's not I'm not bagging on Equinox. Warrior's not his role. He needed to play somewhere where he was playing his role. That's why I'm happy he's over at No Tomorrow. That's why I'm happy they replaced him at GFE. Like, let's get people in the right roles so that we can be competitive, right?
We could live in a world where maybe they didn't know it, but Urho could have been the tank on that team.
That's
Strictly
true.
a tank player. You drop Equinox and you pick up Urho.
Yeah, that's true.
So.
That's very true. All right, so Naventic made some interesting changes. I can't wait to see how these play out in Phase 2. Kenma's now a coach, and iDream's now on the team. Now, iDream used to play with them back in the Cloud9 days, and now he's back, and Kenma's going to coach. So this could either go very, very well or horribly, horribly wrong.
That's
right?
back when Cloud9 had 2 teams, right?
Yeah.
They had Maelstrom
Yep.
and Vortex.
Yep, that's way back in the day, yes. So
that
would be interesting.
That can be a dynamic. They can come out guns a-blazing in the second half, or they can, like you said, just
Crash and burn?
fall flat in their face, man.
We'll have to see. It'll be interesting to see what happens there. But the one that really got to me this week was Superstars. So Superstars dropped Faye and Goku. I kind of got the Goku drop. They picked up Urho and Yoda. And I'm just like, the way the Faye Superstars, you're no longer with the team thing went down, like, I just struggle with that. Like, Faye wasn't the problem, and why they did it the way they did, I have no idea. This gets into, you and I have talked a couple of times about how the infrastructure and the true, like, team mentality doesn't exist in NA, because this is not how a proper front office managed team would have done this.
So, I guess I can see Yoda coming to the team and being like an upgrade, but I still find it hard to believe that there was a move that they needed to make, right?
Right.
It's like it's like you said, it's like, I don't want to say it's an unprofessional move, but it seems amateurish. Let's put it that way.
All right, that's fair.
Does that work?
That's fair.
Is that a good way to describe it?
I can go with that. I can work with that.
So, and then and Goku left the team, I'm going to assume, of his own accord, because I'm sure that these guys all talk, right? So
they do, right?
So he knew the opportunity was going to be there for
Roll 20.
Roll 20.
Yeah. Well, and who would, like, look, nothing against Superstars, but who wouldn't want to take that shot, right? Like, oh, you guys
saw what they were doing
and
and like what the potential was there, right?
Right. Like,
exactly.
of course you take that, right? You have to take that. All right. So then, last change we have in NA, well, almost last change we have in NA. Team Freedom drops Insomnia, which we knew about. MasterLeague.net wasn't reporting for a long time, but we knew about that, right?
Yep.
And in comes Cure, which we knew Cure was coming to a HGC team. We just didn't know which team.
Because it was like the LeBron sweepstakes all over again, man.
Right. It was crazy. And then
he's going everywhere.
So that one I think is actually sort of an upgrade. It depends. We'll see how Cure does in, like, real HGC.
Correct. So we've only seen him in Heroes of the Dorm as far as his competitive history goes. Successful there. And as an individual player, he's been Grandmaster at every season.
I think
so far.
yeah.
Grandmaster number 1.
Right.
Every season so far. So the mechanics are there. We just have to see it in a team environment throughout a season.
Yep. And then the last change is B-Step with CAF, K1 Pro, and iDream leaving. B-Step's completely gone, and Even in Death from Open Division is in. It is what it is, right? It makes sense. This goes back to, like, what we discussed. It's just without an org, no front of the office, these things will happen.
It's depressing. I'm hoping that Even in Death will grow leaps and bounds by performing in the HGC, and that they just don't get absolutely
Dumpstered.
crushed Yeah, week in and week out, man. They're just absolutely bodied.
Look, like even there were a couple of KR teams which were getting completely crushed at the beginning of the season. A couple of Chinese teams in the same boat. Towards the end of phase 1, they started getting wins. It's a growing experience, right? Because now all of a sudden, Even in Death has an opportunity to start scrimming true pro teams consistently and to start playing true pro teams consistently.
Week in and week out.
Right.
So,
speaking of Korea, let's get down to Korea, where a lot of news dropped all at one time. All right, cool. I got that. Let me nudge it up just a hair because
Oh, you got it all.
Yeah, all right. I think I'm gonna leave it right there. Actually, you know what I can do? I can cheat. There we go. All right. All right. So here we go. We got Korea. We got a lot of changes going on in Korea. So the first thing I want to say is GG completely disbanded, just poof, gone. And they've been replaced by RRR from the Open Division. Now, if you remember from our coverage of the Crucible, RRR actually lost and did not make it in. But GG, they're gone now. They lost 3 players. And so, poof, they're
almost
done.
Exactly identical scenario to what happened in B-Step.
Exactly. So RRR is now in. We have L5 of all things, making 2 changes. Nitrogen and Noblesse out. SD and Hooligan in. Did not see that coming. They were in great form, but they changed. And then MVP Black dropping Mary Day, but picking up Rich. Like, that to me, like, we talked about that a lot last week.
To be fair, Mary Day's retiring.
Right, so. Right. It's not like they dropped Mary Day. But it's interesting to me to see how this shakes out because Rich isn't a healer.
So there's going to be a role swap. Rich is going to play the melee flex. It's just we don't know who yet.
Right.
So
right.
It's going to be,
interesting.
It's going to be interesting. We're going to find out week 1, and after MidSeason Brawl happens, they get the little breather, and we get back into phase 2.
Well, we may even hear before then, because once scrims start happening with the new team, we may see who shakes out where. So
get some early info.
Right. All right. So Mighty dropped Sands in SDE and picked up Good in BDG. Like just moving along. Tempest dropped Duck in Modern Life. This surprised me because both of them were on my fantasy team. If you are not playing rosterpocalypse.com, start with phase 2. It is a lot of fun. And then picked up H82 and Hong Kono. Of course, both from other HGC teams. MVP Miracle lost Darvish and Hong Kono and picked up Judy and Jae-Yun. Raven lost H82 and picked up Darvish. And Team Blossom dropped Scarlet and Judy and picked up Modern Life in Dagon. Now, I know I went through that fast, right? But if you look at it and if you really chart it out, I still stand by the fact that all the team owners got together and said, it's cool, let's all figure out who's available and let's figure out the swaps, and then just day 1 say, here are our new rosters. We've made up to 2 changes.
We've made our changes, yes. So for what it's worth, there are some new names here that weren't in the previous season. We've got Hooligan joining L5. This is I know nothing about him.
Yep.
He's coming out of nowhere. Good was not in the previous season.
Nope, he was not.
So, and then you have other players that seem to kind of moving from the bottom tier teams and working their way up into the better teams.
Right.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting. I don't know if it's like the bigger, in baseball when the Yankees and the Red Sox, they have the money so they can just get all the free agents from the weaker teams that kind of grew and pedigree.
And kind of move them up, right?
Yeah.
It very much feels like that's what happened, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, it's interesting to me. So we only had so here's some stats for you, right? We had 3 player swaps in EU, we had 8 in NA, and we had 12 in Korea, which is crazy because just boom. Guess what? Here's 12. And the 12 happened pretty much in one day, right? All the news broke almost that one day. There was a couple things that happened after, but I think in that one day we had 9 swaps, in that day.
There was just a couple that happened, and I didn't find out about them until Blizzard released this article stating all the swaps that happened. The L5 ones. We had no idea they were happening.
Right. So no, good stuff though, good stuff. The other thing that I thought was interesting, so we haven't heard any Chinese roster swaps, but what we did have here, and this is man, this is so minor, I don't even know, I feel bad even bringing this up, but but I don't want to be the show that you guys come to for HGC news and we don't mention this. So there is a rumor right now, and you can find the link in our show notes, that eStar's entire roster is retiring after the midseason brawl. Now, it's a Reddit thread. It's a person not with the team that's saying this is Chinese news that we've heard, like all of China knows is happening. And the only reason I really bring it up is because we really don't get a lot out of China.
Correct. It's tough.
Right. So
it's tough to know, to get any information out of that region.
Right.
It's one of the major regions, but it's also, I joke with Bahgz, it's a land of mystery, man.
Well, like, I want to know what's going on with Chinese Open Division, because I can't, like, amateur is very important to me. It's one of the reasons why I wanted to do this show, because I feel like Open Division, amateur, and even minor regions don't get enough coverage. I say that, and we haven't really spent a whole lot of time on minor region stuff yet. But I'm hoping to in phase 2, honestly.
Expand upon it, yes.
Right. But you can't find anything about Chinese Open Division, but they had a Crucible. But you don't know, like, it's like impossible. It's like, Blizzard, please. Like,
you can use all the Google flu you want, but
right, it doesn't matter. You're not finding it. It's crazy. So eStar may be gone after this, which is insane in and of itself. This is the number one team in Group B, the number 3 team overall points wise. Like, what? eStar might be gone? Like, what? Like, it's crazy.
So I think there's a comment by the same guy later in that thread. I didn't link it, and I should have. But I believe I read somewhere that the team will still be in the Chinese HGC. They're just going to pick up players from other teams, and I think 2 of the player. I don't know. He said that the eStar is staying in HOTS. They're just going to pick up a new roster, basically.
Well, but the interesting thing there is they can't. So if you look at the HGC rules, the roster itself is locked. You can change sponsors all you want, but those 5 players are the HGC team. So if eStar's like, we're just gonna swap our whole roster, that's cool, bro. Go back in the line. like that's how it works. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. It drives me crazy how hard it is to get Chinese information. But, looking back at it, it's almost as hard to get A and Z information, and they speak English. And don't have the great firewall of China, but it's still just as difficult to get, A and Z. It's just so it's almost like if you're not Korea, EU, or NA, like, finding the information is harder. It's out there, but it's like a lot more legwork.
So it's the work that we'll have to put in, man.
Yep.
And see, and if we can dig something up.
No, that's next on the list, man. And by the way, anybody listening, whether it's live, whether it's on their website, iTunes, Stitcher, wherever you're listening, if you have any news you want to share with us, hit us up on Twitter at TrollinHGC. DMs are actually open. I leave the DMs open for these reasons. You can also email us. I don't want to say the wrong email, so I'm going to just double check it. It's trollin@trolls.gg. I thought that was it, but I want to make sure. So, all right, so let's jump into what happened with Mist. So I'm hoping you know more about this than I do, because I only kind of cursory saw it on the outside.
I don't know. I've maybe a little bit more. I know just from the Reddit thread and from the Twitter chain, so to speak. So as far as I currently understand it, Mist left Team Freedom's stream team because he was getting an offer from Luminosity to join their stream team and possibly try out for their new Heroes team. Except that actually wasn't a thing. He was apparently conned by someone who came in impersonating a Luminosity representative, and he told Mist and maybe a couple other players that they were starting a HOTS team. They're doing tryouts, and unfortunately, Mist had announced it on his stream,
right?
And that from there it went to Twitter. I believe Artemis mentioned it on Twitter,
yep.
Which eventually led back to Luminosity and their rebuttal, which was they have zero interest in HOTS right now, and going forward in the foreseeable future they have none, which feels bad, man.
Right? And we're gonna talk a lot about that later.
Correct. So, but I just wanted to bring it to light. It was a really believable thing because I don't know about you, but there seems to be like this like Heroes is kind of like gaining momentum in the esports world. I feel like we're heading in the right direction, and that was a totally believable thing. Like, hey, I could totally see another big org coming to try and get their foot in the door now, and I just wanted to bring some light to it in that respect, and because it sets the table for what we're going to talk about later. Because our buddy Trent there over at Trent Esports had a little response in there to someone's question on that Reddit thread that I really liked and kind of got me thinking.
Yep. Nah, absolutely. All right, so let's jump into some results. I think I have this queued up correctly. I do. All right. So, MidSeason Brawl, the group stage finished today. The incredible thing that we were gifted with 2 bonus games because there were 2 tiebreakers, which I don't know if you got to see them. I watched those. Like, during the day, it's a struggle because these games are on during the day in the middle of the week for me. So I'm, like, watching them while I work. But the tiebreaker games, like, I shut everything down and I just watched them because I was like, dude, this is it. Like, the first one wasn't as critical. It was Dignitas L5 and it was for the higher seed. But the second game was Tempo Storm versus Soul Torturers. And that was just to get into the bracket play. So I have it up on the screen. You can see MVP Black finished number 1 overall with 13 points. Fnatic number 2 overall with 12 points. Followed by Roll20 and Nomia rounding out Group A, which is awesome. Roll20, I disagreed with you last week, and I thought they would get higher. They definitely played some games like they should have gotten higher, and then they played other games like, I don't know.
Not so much.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. But, it's still a respectable performance from an NA team. And then we have, over in Group B, we have E-Star Gaming with 11 points finishing up 3rd. Dignitas and L5 both on 10 points. And then Tempo Storm on 5, squeaking by into that last spot, rounding out Group B. Right?
That was the proverbial butt clencher there, man.
That whole game, I was just watching, like, is Soul Torturers going to do something crazy and, like, knock Tempo out? Now, to be fair, look, I love NA. It's my home region. I love NA. I was kind of hoping that Soul Torturers would win.
What?
Here's why. And I didn't say it on Twitter because I knew you were cheering for Tempo Storm.
Oh, my gosh.
But I saw that tweet and I was like, man, I hate to say this, but I kind of hope Tempo Storm loses because I want Roll20 to be, like, the NA team. Right?
They still can be based on the bracket.
Well, they
now.
still can be, right? Which all right, so let's just scroll down a little bit into the lower bracket because that's where we're talking about right now. So Saturday at 4 a.m., God help me, I'll be up, watching L5 versus Nomia. Now, I expect everybody thinks the same thing will happen. L5 will sweep Nomia. Look, Nomia, you guys have done great things, so I'm not trying to, like, dog on you, but, like, it's L5. Like, I get that they ended up in 3rd, but it's L5.
To be fair, like, so Guaz and I were just talking about this. We just got done recording the Weekly Blizz, and I'm like, listen, I love what they've done. I love how far they've come, but this is the end of the road, and you can take that to the bank.
Right. But more importantly, and the reason I wanted to scroll down and kind of just highlight this game a little bit, Saturday at 7:15 a.m. Eastern, even if you're not up for the L5 Nomia game, get up for the Roll20 Tempo Storm game because only one NA team is moving on from there, and it's either going to be Roll20 or Tempo Storm, and you don't want to miss that game.
Guaranteed 6th place for North America.
Guaranteed. All right, so let's keep going through kind of our thoughts on the results because I know we jumped ahead a little bit to the preview, but I had to bring it up because, like you said, right, either Tempo or Roll20 is getting through based on the group performance, and only one of them can survive.
It's kind of sad, actually.
It really is. And somebody on the Nexus Trolls in chat actually said, well, what do you think about NA versus NA? And I said, well, ultimately, if we didn't want to see NA versus NA, then one of those two teams needed to finish better. And so instead we're stuck in this situation where one of them will end up in 7th, I think, or 7-8, right? It's really one, right? And the other one will end up in 5-6, or higher, right? It is what it is.
It's what we ran into at the Clash as well. So
right, that's the problem when you send 2 teams from a region. EU's gonna have the same thing. Fnatic, Dignitas, only one of them's gonna get through. Who's it gonna be? We'll find out. One of them will finish higher than the other one. But all right, so let's you had some really good ideas on some discussion topics around this. So I'm going to reorder them a little bit because we're already talking NA anyway. So what do you think about Tempo Storm and Roll20's kind of results and where they ended up at?
All right, so I'm gonna warm us up with Tempo's results.
Okay.
Because the more exciting stuff is Roll20. So Tempo actually surprised. Now they did kind of come out flat in some of their matches, and they probably should have not been in the situation where they needed to play a tiebreaker match, which was really exciting, by the way, against Soul Torturers, the Taiwanese team.
Yep.
They should have 2-0'd them.
I agree.
But they didn't. They split, whatever. So they played themselves into that corner, unfortunately. But they took a game off Dignitas. And as previously noted, until Team 8, well, Roll20, then known as Team 8, beat Dignitas and took that one map off them in the Clash, it had been a long time since an NA team had taken a map off EU, let alone Korea. And it just, to me, with Dignitas jumping ahead a little bit, beating L5 as often as they did in the group stage, it shows that Tempo's really grown as a team as well, and NA probably as a region in general. And I think the new HGC format has a lot to do with that.
I would agree, but I would also I'll see that, and I know you were going to talk about Roll20 in a minute, but Roll20 took a game off MVP Black.
They certainly did. They we'll jump right into it. They 22-0'd arguably the best team in the world.
I don't know what happened that game. I swear to God, when the cameraman cut back to the panel and they were just sitting there like, what did we just watch? Like, you could just tell they were all like in shock. Like, they're all holding their heads like, what did we just see? That whole game, I was like yelling at the TV, like, oh my God, like, and then, but what really killed it is then MVP turned around and said, like, you don't do that shit to us, and definitely not twice in a row, and smacked them right back down. But like that game, like, I can only imagine, like, I would have killed to have been in that studio, because I can only imagine the only person louder than Glaurung is Breeze. In like during play, right? Legitimately, the only person that screams louder than Glaurung is Breeze. So I can only imagine how loud Glaurung was at that point, like through the whole thing, right? Because here is the truly Roll20 is an underdog story, right? 5 guys joining and saying, let's see if we qualify. They qualify. They fight their way through the ranks. They beat GFE to move into MidSeason Brawl. And they take a game off, arguably, looking at L5 and MVP Black, the better Korean team.
The way they're playing right now, I agree, yeah.
I don't want to take anything away from Tempo Storm, right? Tempo Storm did a good thing when they took a game off L5. But MVP Black is playing better than Tempo Storm, or better than L5 right now. In fact, honestly, for me, it's E-Star, MVP Black, Dig right now. Those are my top 3 teams out of the 8, right? So like, just taking that game was incredible. Like, just and in such a dominant fashion too. It wasn't like some of the games we saw yesterday were like, oh, that one fight. Like, in fact, games that L5 won, they were behind the entire game, and then they got the fight they needed towards the end and won the game, and like that was the end of the game, right? Like, they weren't those kinds of games. Or I'm sorry, not. Yeah. I got that right. It was L5, right? So when L5 was playing Tempo, like, Tempo looked really good against L5. But then L5 won at the end of the game, right? In L5 fashion.
Right. L5's macro game is just phenomenal. So
Right.
in both those matches, Tempo drafted team fighting comps and hung with them in the micro intensive team fighting environment.
Right.
But they were constantly under pressure. The lanes were constantly pushed in, and L5 was just able to manipulate the map better both ways, both times. So.
Right, but and I guess that was the point I was trying to make, right? It wasn't that that Roll20 just like squeaked a game out against MVP Black. Like they dominated, like they were like, you guys got nothing. We're gonna show you this comp and we're just gonna destroy you. And the funny thing is, like, it was a classic Roll20 comp. Like literally MVP Black went, we're not gonna target ban shit. We're just gonna take our meta bans, take our picks, and we're gonna run. And Roll20 was like, cool, you're gonna give us this? Like, you're gonna let us play what we want to play? Which is the one thing every caster and everybody that watches Roll20 says. If you let them play what they want to play, walk away. You just gave them the game. And MVP Black was like, no, we got this. It doesn't matter what they play, we got this. And Roll20 was like, that's what you think. Smack 22-0.
So that's, you bring up a good point. What? Korea, it seems like both Korean teams, and they shaped up a lot better later in the group stages as the meta kind of shaped out, and that's kind of what said they said that more or less. They said,
right.
well, we're not really like gonna anticipate, we're not gonna do too much research, we're just gonna see how things shake out and we'll go from there.
Right.
And that like cocky attitude is what got them into that debacle, that embarrassment. And
right.
That's what it was. It was an embarrassment, and not for America, obviously. For NA, it was like I described it as the Boston Tea Party to guys. Like that was like we literally like it was a dream come true. It was like American soccer beating like
right.
England,
right?
You know? And it was a perfect match. They didn't lose a single structure. It was 22-0, and it was the takeaway is like a lot of people are putting an asterisk on it because it was like MVP didn't prepare for it. They gave them exactly what they wanted. They, you know what it was? It was like anything to discredit what happened. But
right.
In my mind, I'm like, for what it's worth, I don't care. Yes, they got the perfect draft for them. They're like their play style.
Yeah.
They're gods when they have Medivh and Diablo. No doubt. And they played out of their minds.
Yeah.
But you can't take, like, you don't just 22-0 and don't lose a single structure. Even like when everything's going perfectly,
you had skill, right? You
correct.
They earned that win.
Give them credit where credit is due.
Right. MVP didn't prepare for this. Well, I have two things to say. One, look, if you gave me the perfect comp and said, all right, go beat MVP Black, it's not gonna happen. Like, you could put them all on like the weakest. You could do. You're all murky. And LiQuiud's got 5 Illidan's, and there's no structures, just core, and they're probably still gonna beat me, okay? But here's the thing, right? So there's only so much you can say about that. But here's the thing that kills me. So what? It's your job to be prepared for the teams you play against. If you want to go into that tournament and maybe you look at this format and you say, you know what, we don't have to prepare for this. We know we can absorb losses on day one, figure out what the meta is going to be, the global meta across the entire tournament, and then start doing our thing. That's fine. Own that, which they did. They said they weren't going to prepare. They were just going to see how it shook out. But then don't take that away from other teams who did prepare. Roll20 spent time knowing what MVP Black was going to bring, banned correctly to stop MVP from getting what they wanted, got their draft and said, you guys just don't know what you've unleashed, and we're going to show you, and rolled them hard, right? So, like,
yes.
You can't asterisk that because Roll20 did their jobs and MVP said, we're going to do it this way. That's not that. In professional sports, the scout would be fired in those situations. 100%, right? Yeah, like I'm going back to football, but if the Redskins went and played a team and got beat 110-0 because the scout said the team you're going to play runs the ball all the time, and they were like, that's cool, we're just gonna bring our pass defense with us, and then lost because they ran the whole time, like, heads would roll, right? But again, it's not the team's fault. The team was, those pass rushers were trying to stop the run, but they're not going to do it, right? Same thing here. MVP Black, the players may have known what maybe they didn't. I don't know. Maybe the players didn't watch any film at all. That's whatever. That doesn't matter. If the organization as a whole said, you guys don't have to be prepared for this, just play your game, it happens.
Listen, they've come out and said it. The only team they're worried about is Fnatic and L5. And to counter that, I think we can use this to segue into the next thing is one of the players from eStar made the really smart comment of saying, we go into every match looking at it like it's a 50-50 chance that we win or lose. And that they went in about, and I think I retweeted this. They were very humble about it, and they did not want to overlook any opponent at all in this tournament.
Well, and that's what they said. You can't overlook anybody. And here's the thing that I always come back to, right? Like, there's a reason people play the game. If I could just look at stats and be like, that team wins, that team wins, that team wins, nobody'd play the game. The reason people play the game, any competitive anything, is on any given day, someone else is going to win, right? Sure, you can do everything you want to stack the deck and make sure you win, but things happen, and on any given day, anything can happen. So, you got to roll the dice and take your chance. eStar, there's a reason they're number one right now, points and everything. They didn't take anybody for granted. They knew every game could go either way, and they played like it. I think I'm looking at it right now. eStar has you know what? It switched because of the top standings page. eStar only lost 2 games.
They lost 1 to Soul Torturers,
right? Which nobody saw coming.
And they lost 1. I don't even count the one they lost to Soul Torturers. That was earlier today. They played. It was a Nova Chromie, wacky, stupid. They had already locked in the #1 seed for their group and just threw it.
And they were like, whatever.
That ticks me off, by the way, because Tempo Storm was like hanging on. They didn't have to play in the tiebreaker at the time, and if Soul Torturers won, they would have to play in the tiebreaker.
Dude.
So I was like, so they threw it. No one acknowledged it, but they clearly threw. They played some wacky comp. They still almost won for what it's worth.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I don't know that you could classify it as a throw, only because they almost won. Their mechanical skill carried them far enough to. I get what you're saying, right? Principally, I get it.
So it was a draft. They drafted for funsies. Can we say that? It was we win or lose, it doesn't really matter. We're gonna play to win, but let's have fun with it, right?
Right.
And I don't really like that. The competitive part of me doesn't like that. I'm like, play to win. So
yeah, no, which I get, right? But
maybe
consider this. No, because you have a good point. Because consider this: had they not done that, we would not have gotten the playoff game or the tiebreaker game, right? Had they said we're gonna come out and we're gonna do eStar things to Soul Torturers, which they clearly could have done, no questions asked, right?
Hyper Valley, Qingxi,
right?
Playing Vala,
right? But instead, consider this. Obviously, and this again, this is a little more sinister, but obviously, eStar knows Tempo Storm has a chance to beat them, right? Tempo Storm's not a bad team. They didn't beat them in group play, but they're not a bad team. So consider.
They played them close.
Right.
It
was close. It was close, right? So consider if they throw that last game, or if they play for funsies for that last game, and Soul Torturers gets through and goes into the tiebreaker, from eStar's point of view, there's a 50-50 chance that Soul Torturers wins. And eStar knows
they'd rather face Soul Torturers in that hypothetical scenario where Soul Torturers was able to get through the lower bracket and face them.
Or eStar gets knocked into the bottom bracket. Now they have to face Soul Torturers anyway. Let's make it easier on ourselves, right? So this is the coach part of me that comes out, because I really feel like I probably shouldn't say this, but I coached youth soccer for a long time. And when we went to tournaments, you would look at those things. What can I do? Because at the end of the day, the kids wanted to win. So you looked at, what can I do to give my kids the best chance of winning this tournament? And sometimes the best way to do that was to make sure you faced a different team. not the best team, right? So sometimes you had to look for opportunities like that. So I could see E-Star maybe doing it that way. All right, that's all I'm saying. I'm saying there's a chance that that's why they did that.
If you're gonna say something that might be slightly controversial, then I'm gonna throw this out there. I didn't even know they kept score in youth soccer.
They don't. They
got trophies and it was a tie game.
So
Nobody
they
wins.
They don't. All right. So we're gonna since we're down this rabbit hole and then we're gonna get back on topic. The kids always keep score. Let's just get that out of the way right now. Whether the coaches and the refs and the parents keep score, the kids always keep score. They know who won and who lost. But I'm talking like full tournament, right? So like a team goes to an all-star tournament, like those kinds of things where they do keep scoring. There are winners and losers. So,
all right, fair enough.
All right, so moving on. Moving on. All right, so Nomia and other minor regions. And this is important because Nomia has consistently done good at international tournaments. The struggle they have is finding good teams to scrim against to get better. And Nomia has gotten a full week and a half of scrims and like actual play. And they look good. They actually look really good right now. Probably not good enough to go through further like we talked about, but they still look good.
To be fair, unfortunately, they have to play L5. Had L5 not struggled as much as they have in the group play so far, they might have a chance to go a little further. They might have had a chance to go a little bit further. They've looked solid. They split a game off Roll20. They beat the teams they were supposed to beat, and they beat them in fairly convincing fashion.
Right.
So they've looked solid. And, for what it's worth, I love seeing the amount of diva that they bring to the table. So
oh, definitely.
It's great, man. So for flavor, I'm happy that they made it this far. I'm happy that a minor region will be represented in the playoffs. I'm excited, man.
Absolutely. I wish Red Candids or Soul Torturers could have done a little better.
Red, so now that we're on to this, Red Cannons, I feel like that's a team that should have won a couple of maps and they didn't win any.
Right.
They were competitive with a lot of teams, and even some of the better. I mean, they did get rolled by I believe it was either L5 or E-Star, in like 6 minutes. In 6 minutes, but there were times when they were playing the other teams that they were very competitive. Yeah. They're a really aggressive team, but they looked good. But then other times it just seemed like they were just like, it was like a Hero League match too sometimes, where they're just like throwing guys at problems and
and it just wasn't
staggering death timers. Yeah,
wasn't quite where it needed to be. All right, so let's jump. We're gonna like hit a couple of things pretty quick. There's a lot of links in our show notes, so check those out if you want to get a little bit more in depth and read some of the Reddit conversations and stuff that's around some of these things. But Uther, Genji, and hyper carries, like. First of all, going into this, I mean, I think everybody knew Uther was gonna be pretty big.
Right. So he's been seeing a lot of play in the later stages of HGC. I didn't quite expect him to be like basically. Let's see if I can pull up the link here. Top 3 involvement. I didn't expect 96% supplanting Malfurion though.
Well,
like I saw him as like him and Oriole have been like jockeying back and forth. As far as seeing play, and Malf had been like 100%, but I guess that's it's gone out the window with the way that this tournament meta is shaking out, where you're just seeing Genji in every single draft, and Genji needs Uther.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So Genji and Vala, right? Genji and Vala both do great.
And we're also, go ahead. Sorry, I was gonna jump ahead, but I don't.
It's weird, right? Because Genji and Vala do so much physical damage that having an Uther like saves you, right? On the opposite side. So it's interesting. And a noob like 98% pick or involvement, and like, dude, what? Like a noob is the tank at this point, which I don't think that was Blizzard's intention.
No, so he's basically supplanted ETC completely.
Right.
after they murdered ETC, and a noob had gotten he got a small health buff or something like that, and
Right.
it tips him over the edge, and they know if they get rid of that small health buff on a noob, he'll be right back to garbage tier.
Yep.
And so they're like trying other things to like weaken him. Where this isn't the Nexus Trolls, but that's why he's there. It's Cocoon is amazing. He has tons of
Yes.
stuns. He brings the spell shield. His kit is unbelievable. So that's why we're seeing so much of him. And it's just that stayed the same. Dahaka's still a beast. He's been a beast for a while now, even after like they nerfed him and then they buffed him again. So it's just his kit is also amazing. That global, his wave clear, it's just extremely valuable on any tri-lane map, any big map. The reason why I threw these guys in here is we knew Genji was going to be popular. I just didn't expect Genji and Uther to be this popular and
Right.
evolve into this meta. And the other thing I wanted to note was later on here in the notes is the illidan and Abathur firmly making their way into the meta, this tournament meta.
Well, they're back, right? That's
like-
the thing. They're back, and it's like because it used to be a thing, and now they are back just as almost as strong as they used to be.
Nothing's changed. That's the wild thing. Like
Right.
literally nothing has changed. Those characters have not been buffed.
Right.
It's just, but the tournament meta evolves. It's separate from the league meta. It always has. It happens at every international competition. There's a tournament meta that evolves, and this is what we're seeing. We're seeing illidan with a 57% win rate. He's in 40% of matches.
Right. And Abathur with an even higher win rate. Abathur's at 87%. Like what? Like
We're seeing him get banned. It's just, it's great, to be honest.
Right.
I love it.
last year called they wouldn't mind having their stuff back.
So I'm excited to see it. You're seeing a lot of comps where you'll get like Uther, Genji, Illidan, and Abathur, where you just get all these characters that the article that's on the Invent site is like it's like the
Right.
unkillable comp because these guys either have escapes or other mechanisms that just they can't kill them. So very cool stuff. And then obviously you're seeing E-Star, they favor the Vala hypercarry where they just all in on Vala, and when you have someone who's as good as Cheng Si, she doesn't die, and the amount of damage she does is just absurd.
Right. No, absolutely.
So, and I guess the one other note we can take away from the Anu being in here is the Eastern teams in South Korea and China, they didn't really play a noob. I took a look at the stats. He had like 20% involvement in like the Crucible and the Korean playoffs, and that's when he's at his current power level. They just didn't use him, and that's the Western influence on this tournament meta. So we're seeing the Vala hypercarry and the Illidan Abathur comps that come over from like this beautiful like mesh.
Right. That's a good point. I didn't make that connection. Right, because it was mostly like Tyrael and something else, almost always.
Right. So they play a lot of Tyrael, and you always see Tyrael make a big comeback in these tournaments. So
Right.
it's really cool. It's like this. It's almost like you just take like two paintings and you just like mash them together, and
Yeah,
you get this,
and then you get what you're left with, right?
Yes.
That's a good point. All right, so let's. Man, I was hoping I could just swap this easily over to Tyrael, but I guess I can't. All right, so let's go over just a couple of quick stats, right? We have some stats that MasterLeague.net put out today. Link is also in the show note. Shortest match 6:02, and there was a race for this, right? Like, so first it was so first actually
that was today. Yep.
But what's interesting is Tetcher, I think it was Tetcher, actually asked what was the shortest match prior to this, and I went and I looked it up, and it was like 7:36 by a Korean team. I think it was L5 that had that time. And then yesterday, another team actually got a quicker. I think Dig got like 6:59 or something like that, so they beat the old Korean record. And then Fnatic chasing the Dragon today against Super Perfect Team got the shortest match in 6:02 on Infernal Shrines.
They tried that twice. They tried first on Braxis. They tried to do it, failed.
The Braxis one, I thought they had a better chance at, and then they go ahead.
No, absolutely, because the second match was on Infernal Shrine, so the push mechanic on Braxis is
right. It's
very
like
strong.
made for it, right? But then they said, you know what? Screw the shrine. We're just going. And in a moment of absolute like, did that really just like? Did I just see that
It was
happened.
like a quick match, man.
Right, it was horrible to watch. Like I felt bad for Super Perfect Team. But like what? It was just like it was insane. It was insane.
Can we take a second, by the way? I just want to pour one out for Super Perfect Team.
Right.
They were playing without their captain and shot caller for the entire time. They were just trying to make it to the playoffs and so he could get there, and he clearly carried the team. It's not a bad team. They're tied with E-Star back home. Right? They're tied for first place in the HGC out of Phase 1. All right, it's a very good team. They just missed out based on map record from going here in the first place.
Right.
And they just they were like thrown on a plane, and like Blizzard was like, "Hey, you have to go play in the MidSeason Brawl."
Right.
Your
Sorry,
team couldn't make it.
we know you guys had planned on taking a week off, but no, you're on a plane. Good luck. And what's that? Your captain and shot caller can't make it. Damn, that's a sad story. Too bad you're playing anyway. Like, and then they get stopped, and I felt like
I felt bad for them.
I did too. But to be fair, like. It is what it is, right? And they did the best they could in the situation they were in.
And they got to go to Sweden.
So, it could be worse. And I think Blizzard could correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they get the full 2 weeks there. Because I think Blizzard just books everybody, and then they're just scrim partners for the next week and enjoy the show. So
that's great.
Right?
That would make sense, yeah.
Yeah, because I don't know. I could be wrong. All right. Longest match, 29-47 on Dragonshire. Red Canids, though, versus E-Star. That surprised me. That game, I thought E-Star was going to lose that game a couple of times.
So this is what I was talking about when I said they performed really well against top-tier competition.
Right.
This was it. This is the prime example. I thought there were several moments where you thought that Red Canids would not necessarily team wipe E-Star, but they would get a couple picks, and they couldn't capitalize on it, unfortunately.
Right.
And the match just dragged on and on and on. And if I remember correctly, they were on their heels for the start, and they kind of gained their footing later in the game.
Yep.
It's just they weren't able to do it, man. They couldn't win any maps, and I felt terrible for them. I wanted them to win a couple. I didn't
want them to go 0-10, but they did.
Yeah.
But this is the one that's got me most excited. 53 out of 67 heroes have been picked. That's huge. Huge.
That's a good thing.
It's a great thing. I'm so excited about that. To me, that means Blizzard is doing something right.
Working as intended.
Right. All right. Most popular heroes, we kind of hit this already. Anubarak, Genji, Uther, Dahaka, no surprise. Most popular bans, Uther, Dahaka, Anubarak, Genji with Zeratul. So I don't think anybody is surprised there. I am just gonna go confirm. I think Emdrinwit. I just butchered your name, man. I'm sorry. I think the post.
I might be able to pull that up for him. If you
if you want to look for that, and I'll keep trucking along. I think it's out there on Master League somewhere.
Dude. I got this.
But, all right, so while you look that up, I'm going to swap us over. We're jumping into preview, so I'm going to just start going into it. So we're starting off with lower bracket action on Saturday morning, 4 a.m. Eastern. That's crazy early, but I will be up watching L5 versus Nomia first. I think L5 is going to sweep that. I think we both agree. Thank you, Bahgz, throwing that into chat. That's awesome. And then followed by 7:15, we got Roll20 versus Tempo Storm. Wait, I know what I want to say. 2 teams enter, 1 team leaves. And only one NA team is going to get out of that match to play the following day in the lower bracket. Of course, L5, I suspect, will move forward into the second best of 5, again at 4 a.m. on Sunday. Roll20, I'm hoping beats Tempo, but they will roll into another best of 5 on Sunday at 7:15 a.m., playing the losers from the bracket above, which I'm going to go ahead and scroll up to the winners bracket real quick. You can see here we have 2 really solid games. Saturday, 10:30 a.m. Eastern, Fnatic versus E-Star. All right, pick your winner there. What do you got?
I got you. I'm going to go Fnatic. I know E-Star has been out of this world, the best team fighting team in this tournament. No, I don't think there's much of an argument there. I'm going to go Fnatic. I know they got 2-0'd by MVP, but before that, they looked absolutely dominant.
Okay.
absolutely dominant. I think that they were definitely holding back in the group stage. They were just kind of coasting along, and especially when they I don't know if they. I want to say I want to say that they were holding back from MVP Black. I could be wrong, but we'll see. So I'm going to take Fnatic in that match.
I actually agree with you. I think Fnatic will take E-Star. I think it's going to be the upset of the morning, though. I think... Look, I love Bakery. The rest of Dig is questionable. They're good guys, right?
Yeah.
I think Black is going to beat Dignitas in the 1:45 p.m. upper bracket game.
That's the premier matchup. Or at least
still
based on schedule.
I still think MVP beats Dignitas.
I'm going to agree with you there. I'm not going to... MVP Black, after getting embarrassed by Roll20, seems like they've been on a mission, man.
They were... Well, think about it, right? If you just got embarrassed by some NA upstart... And look, again, I love NA. But if I'm Korean royalty and some NA upstart just embarrasses me 22-0 and doesn't lose the structure... Like, dude... At that point, I'm seeing red, and I'm like, every other team in this tournament is just going to get dumpstered by me from here on out, right?
And Mary Day's got to go out on top, man. It's written in stone.
He's got to.
Like that.
And you know Rich is sitting in the background going, look, guys, I don't join a team that doesn't win, so you better get it done.
I don't join losers.
You know? All right, so that's going to happen, and then losers of those are jumping down into the lower bracket when they're going to play Sunday morning at 4 and 7:15 respectively. And then winners in the upper bracket play each other Sunday at 10:30 a.m., which is weird, but that's cool. And then losers are winners from the early games Sunday play each other Sunday at 1:45 p.m. And then we get a losers final and a grand finals on Monday. Now, I hate that they're on Monday. But that is when they are. I'm going to scroll down a little so you guys can see some of that. All of this, by the way, linked in the show notes. Check it out. Here's the thing. I used to spend my Father's League Sunday, or my Father's Day weekend coaching all-star tournaments for soccer. I will be spending my Father's Day weekend this weekend waking up at 4 a.m. to watch Blizzard Heroes of the Storm action. Can we please, Blizzard, please, for the love of God? And I realize that the reason the schedule is not as friendly for this as it was for the group play, this they have to work around DreamHack's schedule, right? So all the group play was done in a closed room somewhere off. DreamHack hasn't started yet. In fact, I think DreamHack starts tomorrow. I think the schedule actually kicks off. So I understand why it was done this way, but like, Blizzard, please, you're NA fans, 4 a.m., you're killing us, man. You're killing us. Like, I thought I was past that when we finished phase 1 and I didn't have to wake up early for Korea. But, all right, so I think the games are going to be good. Regardless of who wins, I think we can both agree, like, bracket play for the rest of the weekend is going to be, like, there won't be any stomp. The only game that might be a stomp is going to be L5 Nomia. Might.
Correct.
Because Nomia could do something and L5 is not in the best shape right now.
So that's a wild card too. Like, what is the world coming to in a world where we can see where Nomia takes a game or two off L5?
Right? Like, what happened?
What is this world of heroes we're living in?
It's a great world. That's what it is.
It is. I agree. Parity's not a bad thing in the international scene, man.
Not
at all. I gotta ask you, who do you think is gonna win, Roll20 or Tempo?
All right. This is hard. This is really hard for me. Okay, because here's my struggle. I have actually never been a fan of Tempo Storm ever. Like when they
not
were
even when Zuna was on the team and the promote meta was a thing.
No. So less than, but really I meant the team as a whole. So like back when they were Astral Authority.
Okay, and Murlocs. All right, I understand.
Never, yes. Like I've never, ever, and I feel bad saying this because honestly, Cawthon is growing on me. I like Fury. I think Fury got done dirty by GFE. We've talked about that a number of times.
Yep.
So I like in June. Oh my God, June is an amazing support player.
And he's adorable.
Yes, but as a team, first of all, can we just accept the fact that I totally agreed with him being adorable without a second thought there? But as a team, I've never clicked with them as a team. Like when they were Murloc, when they were Astral Thor, like it's never worked for me. Okay,
I understand.
Roll20 though has always been like such a good story to me that I've always been like I'm always behind that, right? In fact, the only people I think I would be more behind than Roll20 is even in death at this point, because like I am a huge believer in, you know, you got to grow the talent up. You can't just do this. Like if you look at all the swaps that happened, like it was literally like, let's just mix up who's where, right?
Let's see if this works. This
right.
combination of parts. Yeah,
exactly. So, you know, my heart wants Roll20 to win. Okay, like 100% in my heart, I want to see Roll20 beat Tempo Storm. Now, the logical part of me that consumes all of the Heroes esports that I consume says that's a tough sell. Roll20's probably going to lose to Tempo Storm, because Tempo Storm is familiar enough with Roll20 that they know not to let Glaurung have any of Glaurung's characters. And if you can keep Glaurung back on his heels, you have a better chance of winning. Right? Like, that's just kind of the way it is.
That's a really good argument. And what's funny is, like, my gut says, and I'm going to go with my gut, I think Roll20 is going to win. But that argument puts that, like, that thought in the back of my mind, like,
right.
Roll20's biggest weakness, and I think we all know this, is also their biggest strength, right? Yeah. So, like, that team goes as Glaurung goes. And, yep. Like, yes, most teams go as their best player goes, but they are, like, to the Unth degree, right?
Right.
And if you can shut down Glau, you shut down Roll20.
Right.
And that's that, period.
Yep.
So, that's a good point, man. And it's just like, man, like, I feel like Roll20 is going to win. I feel like they've shown... it's just...
I really want them to, man. I really want them to. I really feel like they can. Right? But... Oh, I like that. Major and DeWitt. He's got it. Instead of everyone can bleed, the Unth degree. Oh, 100%,
right,
dude.
I like it.
Nominated by the show. That is the title now. So I totally agree though, right? Like I wish without a shadow of a doubt that they would definitely win. I want them to win. I think it's possible for them to win. I just think they're in a spot where it might be a little difficult to pull that off, right? Yeah.
We'll see. What time will tell, man. I feel like, and I don't know. I just believe, man. And Justin, we share a name, man. There's a bond there. It's
look. I definitely want him to win, right? There's no question in my mind. If I could just pick the winner, it would be Roll20. I'm the guy that didn't want Tempo Storm to make it just because I wanted I wanted Roll20 to be the only NA team.
We got chat popping off right now, man.
Right? We do, man. Wow. All right, so but TBU the Tiny's right. Glau has a shallow hero pool. And it's not that Glau has a shallow total hero pool. It's that Glaurung has a shallow what he's really, really good at pool. Right?
Like
the guy can play anything.
Yeah.
Right? But when you're shot calling, you need to be on something that's that level for you, because it needs to be automatic. You need to be able to focus on the macro to get your team doing what you need them to do, while you micro, like, as a second thought, is like, it's just muscle memory. And that's where I think is where Glaurung struggles when he's not on his Medivh, when he's not on his Zeratul, when he's not on those characters where, you know, he knows him secondhand. I almost wish, and this kind of goes along with what TBU the Tiny's saying right now in chat, I almost wish that instead of picking up, who did they just pick up? Now I'm going blank. Goku. They picked up a shot caller to share shot calling duties with Glaurung, so he could go back to just being his badass self. Like the Zeratul that will screw up your day because you stepped 2 steps further than you should have, right? Where he didn't have to worry about the macro as much. He could focus on his micro, but we'll see. Like, that is the game to watch. 100%. If you don't get up at 4, definitely get up for 7:15 Eastern. That game will be the game to watch.
I'm literally going to be pulling into the driveway as that game starts after working 16 hours, my second 16-hour shift, and I'm going to stay up and watch it.
Yeah, because that will be the one to watch. That will be the one to watch. All right, so we're running out of time, and we still got to go over amateur scene, and we have a huge discussion topic that I really want to get into. So a couple of quick things. Again, show notes have links to all of this stuff. EU Open Division and NA Open Division signups are now open for Phase 2. Links are in show notes. You can go find them on GoToGamers. Sign up. If you have a team and you want to even try, sign up. Have fun, if nothing else. Yeah, you might get stomped a couple times, but it's still fun to do. Heroes Lounge Season 4 sign-up is open. That's EU. Chair League is actually about to open. He's doing some interesting changes. I'm not going to spoil that for him, but announcements will be coming out soon about Chair League. Bloodlust Amateur Qualifier still ongoing. This week that just ended, we did have Buttered Toast defeat 4 guys in a Legend 2-0. That was a good match. So check them out. Also, we have Qualifier 4 on June 20th. So if you want a chance at Bloodlust, you need to hit June 20th. That is your final chance to qualify to get in for the season finals, which will be on July 15th. Heroes Hype Amateur Series is week 79 going right now. In fact, the grand finals are starting right now. Being cast actually by a guy that I know, Hero Physio. We've cast a couple games together in Chair League. Good dude. He's casting right now over on the Heroes Hype channel.
Oh, that's sweet.
And they just announced Heroes Hype Tempo Storm Series 2 is coming back, and it's starting June 21st. Sign up for that if you want. That was cool. It was a little Heroes Hype plus Tempo Storm kind of thing they did together. It was definitely kind of a cool little series. So it's like 6 weeks total, I think. All right, so we have 15-ish minutes to go over probably the thing that is like the biggest thing. You and I have talked a lot about orgs and what orgs can bring to esports in NA. But what we haven't talked a lot about is why aren't more big names coming into HOTS, right? Like, and I think the comment you linked in our show notes was actually a really, really telling comment, because it's like even Vainglory boasts having TSM Immortals, G2, SK, Secret, Mouse, a bunch of other teams, right? In Vainglory. How does Blizzard not have that for HGC? Yeah.
So this was my thought. Like, it didn't make sense to me. And maybe it's because I don't have a ton of experience with other esports. I'll be upfront about that. Like, my limit is to like a little bit of Overwatch.
Okay.
And to me, like, my understanding, I'm like, it's up and coming. This is very entertaining to watch. It's a game that I feel like is growing. It's working its way up the Twitch viewership list. It's not by any means up there with Hearthstone, Overwatch, or obviously League and Dota 2, but it's heading in the right direction. It's trending up, right? And it's also it's a game that had bigger name orgs in it at one point. There was a point when Evil Geniuses had a team when it was still in beta. Cloud9 had 2 teams, so there was promise there. And like Pleb King saying in chat, man, it's really fun to watch. It's why I watch it as much as I do. And then Trent, who we reference a lot, really related.
So we really have to get him on the show one of these days.
He laid it out, and it made sense.
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, these orgs have to make money.
Yep.
And the way it is right now, like especially in NA, it's top heavy.
Yeah.
Right? So Tempo's already picked up. GFE's already picked up. That left Roll20, that left Team 8, which was like, just busted into the scene out of nowheres. Right. To be picked up, and they ended up going with Roll20. We don't know what happened behind the scenes. My tinfoil hat theory on that is that a bunch of orgs approached them, and maybe they lowballed them because it's heroes, and these guys thought that they were worth more than that. And R20, which is trying to break into the esports scene, doesn't have a team at all. Kind of gave them the juiciest offer. I think that's probably fair. A fair tinfoil hat theory.
That's a fair tinfoil. I mean, my other theory would be that nobody offered Teammate anything, and Roll20 was the first one to come to them. And they sat on that. They sat on it for a long time, and then went, shit, no one else is gonna give us money. Let's take it, right?
So there's that, and then Trent lays it down like his argument. He's really good. He's clearly an intelligent guy, and as a guy who wrote for Riot for League for a long time has a very good understanding of the inner workings of how these things work. He mentions like Vainglory, you only have to sponsor 3 people instead of 5, so that's cheaper, right?
Yep.
And then, he says the devs are super passionate about its esports scene and work directly with the orgs. Like, Blizzard has, unfortunately, a negative history as far as that goes. And I know that they don't... It seems like they don't necessarily put as much emphasis into the esports scene as we feel like they should.
I feel like they're getting better now, though.
They
are.
They're
definitely getting
in the right
better.
Direction. Like, we have a league now, right?
Yeah.
We probably should have had a league last year, but we have a league now.
Right.
And it's just... Again, so their concern is that these orgs aren't going to have enough publicity because they have to buy a 4th place team, which isn't going to go to LAN events.
Right. Which means now you're not getting any views. You're not getting any, you get nothing out of that. Right. And if you think about it, right, the number of LAN events with this league has now shrunk. There's only 3 LAN events a year. Right. You got the Clash. Oh, well, I take that back. Hold on. Because now I'm second guessing myself.
There's 4. There's 4. There's the
right?
first
There's
Clash.
2 clashes.
Clash, Brawl, Clash, BlizzCon.
Right. Yep. So yeah, even 4 events though. There's way more LANs in League of Legends. I think there's 8 guaranteed a year at this point for the top teams.
I have no idea. So there's that going against it. The view numbers, while they are going up, I don't know what they are compared to other view numbers for other esports and other games.
Right.
As I understand it, though, it's not very high. Gwaz tells me this when he's talking about Overwatch stuff.
It's not. So, it really isn't, right? In fact, I'm pulling it up right now just so I can, look.
We have a frame of reference.
Right. Wednesday night, not the best time, right? But let's use Wednesday night. Now, currently Overwatch is the number 3 game. Is that right? Yeah, that's right. Which is great. But League of Legends has 84,000 viewers right now and is sitting at number 1. Heroes is how many in a row? 14, which is far and away better than it was. But they have 7,500 viewers right now.
They have a long ways to go, sadly.
And that's the problem. That right there. Now I'm looking for Vainglory, and I don't even see Vainglory on here.
And that's why people were kind of crapping on it.
Right.
But Trent, he made his argument that there's less people to sponsor, and that the company backing it is a little easier to work with.
Right. Which is fine. Those are really valid points. I know from some of the other esports stuff I've done that other games definitely get more support from developers. Blizzard's trying to do this not by themselves, because I don't want to say that, because they're using ESL, they're using Gosu Gamers, they're not doing it solo, but they're not. You and I have talked about this, right? And this is the same point I made last week about B-Step just going away. Blizzard isn't working with teams and working with sponsors enough to make sure that things like B-Step just dissolving doesn't happen. Right? In no way, shape, or form should B-Step just have disappeared. But it did, right? So, and I'm not saying that's all on Blizzard, but you wouldn't, well, I can't even say you wouldn't see that in League, because, yeah, there's a chance you would see that in League. But, part of that is Blizzard's responsibility to try and fix. And to do so, you need to have that kind of close relationship between publisher and esports organizations. And that's not to say they aren't out there chasing them. It's just to say right now it's not out there.
So I think ultimately the momentum's heading in the right way.
Yes.
I think the 2 biggest problems are the would say are Blizzard's. I think the viewer numbers are heading in the right direction. They might be low, but I think that's gonna be like the third issue, in my opinion. I think the biggest issue is going to be the parity.
Yep.
So if you're going to be like 5th place and you're not ever going to get that brand out there for people to see, to get people buying their Dignitas jerseys,
right?
It's I think that's the biggest issue, and I think the second issue is what you said. Blizzard needs to go out of their way to help out and help out these teams, get in touch with sponsors. Just make it more approachable for these big orgs.
Right, and I feel like that's part of what's missing right now. Specifically that. So I don't know. It's like, and TBU the Tiny has a good point. The game was made to be more casual, and trying to make it hyper competitive will never work. That's true to an extent, right? It is supposed to be a more casual, more free-flowing MOBA, or team brawler, as Blizzard likes to call it, where you get into this weird thing. Like, all right, so it's trending up. We can all agree it's trending up, right? We're getting more views, we're getting more teams, we're getting more everything, right? But if I'm an esports organization, do I want to go with a game that's been around for 3 years now and has the level of support it currently has, or do I want to go into a league or a CSGO or even a Dota 2 where mechanically skilled players are more readily available because the player pool is much, much, much larger, and the tournaments are more established?
Developed, yeah.
Right. Where with Blizzard, it's, oh yeah, we started this new thing, HGC. We're not even a year into HGC, right? Now, as a fan, HGC is great. As an esports team owner, do I want to make the investment into that? I don't know. Maybe I do, maybe I don't. Like, Roll20 is in a great place. This is their first foray into esports. This was probably a good decision for them, right? Where going into, like, navigating the league waters, where League is now doing something very similar to the Overwatch League. Like, does that make sense?
Franchises and
right,
stuff. Yeah,
right.
yeah. So, yeah, absolutely. So this is a great way for, like, that's a good point to make. This is a great way for Roll20, and maybe that's what HOTS is going to be for either forever or at least for now. It's just a great opportunity for them to get their feet wet, right?
Right.
Give this a go, see how it works.
Right. Learn
from it. Where and unfortunately, for what it's worth, I don't know that, yes, the player pool is not as deep. To me, I'm a big capitalist guy, so, like, if it's entertaining to watch, the viewers will come and watch, regardless of the skill level required to play at that level. You know what I mean?
No, they will, right?
It's got to be fun to watch. If it's not fun to watch, no one's going to watch.
And you see that in HGC right now, right? Every time there's a good HGC game on, we constantly are trending top 5 in Twitch. Constantly. When there's HGC on. But streamers and organizations require those numbers to be high all the time, right? Because my people are out there streaming to generate more hits to my product. Not 24/7, but when they're not in an event, they're out there streaming, right? All of these guys, well, not all of them, but 90% of the pros out there stream when they're not practicing. That makes money for their sponsors. So, yeah.
So, I guess ultimately it's the other thing that hurts them is third to the scene, man. And unless they like reinvented the MOBA wheel, which they tried to do to a degree, but you can only do so much, right? Otherwise you ostracize a lot of people, and they did to a degree. It's kind of like too little too late, but we love what we have, so we'll just keep trying to build it up slow and steady that way. We're never just gonna get the big splash like we kind of hoped that we would get when this all started. And I think, as depressing as it is that we don't have any big orgs, it'll just have to get there eventually, and in the meantime, hopefully we can get some more Roll20s, some people trying to break in, or some smaller orgs.
Right.
It'd just be nice to have all our teams have orgs instead of...
that 100% that, right? Instead of, like, Deadly Kittens has an org now, things like that, right? So as those things start to develop and start to get better, yeah. Cool. All right. And see, we're like almost bang on time. Awesome. All right. So with that, we're going to go ahead and end the show here. I think this topic can be talked about all the time, and we'll probably talk more about it in the coming weeks, especially during downtime when we have a couple bye weeks, right? Not a whole lot to cover except for the amateur stuff. So we'll probably go more in depth, and maybe we'll even get Trent on one of these shows. That would be pretty cool. I would like that. But thank you all for listening to Trollin HGC, a weekly podcast about Heroes of the Storm Esports, a member of the Trolls.gg podcast network. We stream live on our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/TrollsGG, every week on Wednesdays following the Nexus Trolls at 9:30 p.m. Eastern, 6:30 p. Pacific. Wow. Specific. I am a little tired today. All right, so if you want to follow me specifically, you can follow me on Twitter and Twitch at LiQuidGG, LiQiuDGG. I tweet a lot of Heroes of the Storm esports news. I also tweet when I'm going live, whether it's this show, the Nexus Trolls. I'll be guesting on Gang Push Squad next week.
Oh, that's awesome. I didn't know that.
Yeah, we're going to do a mid-season brawl wrap-up. Right before the tournament that we're all going to be in, Creators of the Storm, coming up on the 24th of June. I should pitch that. I should mention that too. CreatorsOfTheStorm.com. We got a couple podcast creators from across Heroes of the Storm, and we're doing a little tournament on Saturday, June 24th. It's no HGC actions going on. We're taking that weekend to do kind of a cool like podcast versus podcast tournament. Check it out, CreatorsOfTheStorm.com. But we were talking about where you can find me. So
sorry.
No, that's okay, man. It's cool. It's absolutely cool. So I also stream Chair League and HGC Open Division NA on my Twitch channel, but tweet before going live there. So, follow me on Twitter, follow me on Twitch. Those are the best places to find me. All right. That took a little bit longer than I expected it to, but Bahgz, where can people find you?
You can find me on my other show that I do. We record offline, so you have to listen to it either on YouTube when Bahgz has an opportunity to get it up there, or regularly on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Google Play. It's called The Weekly Blizz. We cover all Blizzard esports. It's a little less in depth than this because we are splitting it up between several games. But we cover a little bit of everything. So if you want to keep up with the other games that Blizzard produces and the esports offerings that they have, you can find me there. You can also follow me on Twitter at @powerup_Bahgz, where I mostly retweet, to be honest. But it's a ton. Anything esports related, I'm retweeting it, especially if I find it interesting. I just want people to I don't know, keep up on the happenings of these things. And you can watch me stream on twitch.tv/Bahgz, and that's it.
No, and I appreciate the tweets you send out too, because a lot of times you'll find things before I do. So I'm happy that you've tweeted them out or even retweeted them, because it makes it easier. So definitely follow Bahgz, especially if you have a more global kind of esports desire for all Blizzard properties, because he has single-handedly been keeping me involved in WoW Arena and Overwatch. So thank you for that. All right. Thank you for all of our Patreon supporters. If you like the show and you're looking for another way to support us, you can do so at patreon.com/TrollsGG. Subscribe to our show on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, or wherever you happen to find find your podcast on live. It did take a little while for iTunes to get in there, but it is working now. I have confirmed it, so check us out there. Leave us a review if you'd like.
I saw that.
Yeah, I got that all worked out. That was user error. That was all my fault. But I did get it worked out, so it is going to iTunes now. Visit our website at www.TrollinHGC.com to watch this and past shows, along with past video streams, which can be found on our YouTube channel. Look at that. There's a Trollin HGC. Finally, in Heroes of the Storm, if you'd like to hang out with us or the guys from the Nexus Trolls, just type /join TrollsGG. We're definitely there in game when we are around. For announcements about the show and Heroes of the Storm esports news, follow us on Twitter at TrollinHGC. I try to take anything that Bahgz tweets or that I tweet or that either of us comes across that actually involves Heroes of the Storm esports news and make sure I tweet it out from TrollinHGC as well. Finally, if you need to get in touch with us, hit us up on Twitter at TrollinHGC. As mentioned, DMs are open, or email us, trollin@TrollsGG. Thank you all and have a good night.
Peace out.